What makes a legal job interview truly stand out? It's not just about listing your experience, it's about explaining your value clearly, confidently, and in fluent professional English. And this lesson will help you express your legal strengths, describe your background, and answer challenging interview questions using real world vocabulary and advanced grammar. This is part of our full legal English course for lawyers and legal professionals. Join our school community for full access to lessons, live sessions, and expert support. The link is in the description. Today's focus is practical: how to prepare for job interviews in the legal field, especially when English isn't your first language. You'll learn to speak naturally about your career using the present perfect and past continuous. These tenses help you talk about your experience, responsibilities, and achievements, all essential in interviews. You'll also learn advanced vocabulary to describe your strengths, goals, and legal background. And we'll look at how to answer interview questions with clarity and professionalism. Let's start thinking about a real moment. You're walking into a legal job interview. The room is quiet. The interviewer smiles politely and then asks, "Can you tell me about your background?" What do you say? This is where your legal experience becomes your story. In that moment, you're not just reciting facts, you're explaining your legal background, sharing your practical experience, and demonstrating how you've handled communication under pressure. You might talk about a project where you managed sensitive filings under a tight deadline, showcasing both your soft skills and your past responsibilities. Or maybe you describe how your career goals led you to specialize in corporate compliance or international arbitration, giving the interviewer a clear view of your future plans. Now, let's make this personal. Complete the following sentence starters with your own experience. One strength I bring to a legal team is my ability to handle high stakes immigration cases with empathy and precision, especially when clients are navigating complex legal and emotional transitions. In my last position, I was working on real estate transactions and advising foreign clients on residency applications, title transfers, and regulatory compliance in Costa Rica. I've gained valuable experience by representing clients in immigration proceedings, drafting legal opinions on property law, and negotiating contracts that balance legal risk with business objectives. These reflections will help you speak confidently and professionally in every part of your legal job interview. Case portfolio. Let's begin with this word, case portfolio, a term that captures the breadth and depth of a lawyer's experience. It's not just a list of cases, it's your professional fingerprint. The example says her case portfolio includes asylum claims, family reunification, and visa appeals. This tells us she's handled a variety of immigration matters, each with different legal frameworks, procedures, and emotional weight. Now imagine she's asked in an interview, "What kind of cases have you worked on?" Instead of reciting titles, she draws from her case portfolio to illustrate her hands on experience, explaining how she built trust with families, interpreted evolving immigration policy, and argued persuasively in written submissions. A strong case portfolio turns abstract qualifications into memorable stories. Legal exposure. Legal exposure is a powerful way to describe early involvement in real legal environments, even before you're a licensed practitioner. For example, during law school, I gained legal exposure through internships at a public defender's office. This doesn't mean the person was lead counsel, but they were part of the process, sitting in on client interviews, observing trials, reviewing files. Picture a student interning with the defense attorney. She helps organize evidence, observes cross examinations, and drafts case summaries. That's legal exposure, and in an interview, it proves initiative, curiosity, and professional awareness. When you haven't yet built a full case portfolio, Legal exposure shows you're on the path and learning fast. Analytical strength. Analytical strength is one of the most sought after qualities in legal professionals because law is complex and good lawyers make it clear. Let's look at the example. I bring strong analytical strength to legal research and argument building. That means this person can take a messy legal problem full of conflicting facts and ambiguous rules and reduce it to clear, persuasive reasoning. Imagine a junior associate reviewing two opposing statutes. She notices a key difference in scope that changes the legal position entirely. She builds her memo around that, and it becomes the foundation for the client's success. When you describe yourself this way, you're telling the employer, I don't just process information, I think critically, and I find patterns that others miss. Client facing skills. Client facing skills describe how well you work with people, especially clients under stress. Legal advice is only useful if it's understood. That's where this skill becomes essential. For example, my client facing skills have been essential when managing immigration cases under pressure. Think of a client who's just been denied a visa. They're angry, confused, and panicking. A lawyer with strong client facing skills won't just quote legal codes, they'll calmly explain next steps, translate legal language into clear action, and reassure the client that they still have options if they do. This quality matters in immigration law, real estate law, litigation, everywhere. When you show you can handle both law and emotion, you become indispensable. Long term practice goal. When someone asks where you see yourself in 5 years, they're asking about your long term practice goal, your direction as a legal professional. For example, my long term practice goal is to develop expertise in cross border real estate transactions. That tells the firm not only what the candidate wants, but that they've thought it through. It shows focus. Let's say they've worked with international buyers, translated property contracts, or advised on foreign ownership laws. They have seen a need, and now they're building expertise in that area. Mentioning your long term practice goal in an interview isn't about ambition alone, it's about showing you're committed to growing and that your future aligns with the firm's work. Professional development. Professional development shows that you're not just working, you're growing. For example, I'm committed to professional development through specialized training in immigration and compliance law. For you, that might mean completing toll certification or taking this course with us, taking online seminars, or attending bar association events. Now, imagine the candidate says, I recently completed a course on compliance for multinational businesses, and I'm enrolled in a training program for permanent residency law. That tells the interviewer you're not waiting to be trained, you're taking responsibility for your growth. Firms value people who stay current. When you mention professional development, you're showing that you'll continue to evolve with the law and with their business. Let's do a word bank challenge now. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview at a mid-sized law firm. The interviewer doesn't just ask, where did you work? They want examples. So you talk about the asylum case you won last year, the investor visa you negotiated with a tight deadline, and the adjustment of status case that involved a tricky criminal record. You're not just listing past roles, you're building a narrative of your experience. So what's the term for this curated set of matters that showcase your legal work and strategy? That is your case portfolio, a collection of representative cases that highlight the skills, industries, and issues you have handled. For example, my case portfolio includes high-risk immigration petitions, commercial lease disputes, and naturalization appeals. Moving on to the next one. During a summer clerkship, you're handed a 200-page file. It's a messy property dispute involving multiple parties, unclear zoning rules, and a forgotten easement. Your task? Prepare a memo for the senior partner in 24 hours. You break it down, map out ownership lines, flag ambiguous clauses, and isolate the strongest points for negotiation. What's the term for that skill? The ability to break down dense legal problems into clear, actionable advice. That's called analytical strength, and it's one of the most valued traits in law firm hiring. An example, her analytical strength was clear in how she reframed a complicated title issue into three key legal questions. You are working at a real estate law firm. Your client, a non native English speaker, is worried about losing her deposit due to a contract clause she doesn't understand. She's frustrated, stressed, and confused. You take a moment to breathe and calmly explain the timeline and legal language in plain terms. You reassure her, set realistic expectations, and give her space to ask questions. What do we call this ability to handle real people in real time with calm and clarity? That's client facing skills, essential for any lawyer who advises, negotiates, or advocates directly. So, when you're in a job interview, make sure you talk about your client facing skills. An example of this is he showed excellent client facing skills when explaining eviction risks to a vulnerable tenant. In your resume, you include working on asylum cases, corporate structuring, and landlord tenant disputes. Each experience was short, but gave you a taste of different fields: immigration, business, and real estate. You're not specialized yet, but you've touched a range of legal areas. What do we call this breadth, where you've seen different aspects of law through hands on experience? That's called legal exposure, a valuable asset when you're still shaping your career or applying for generalist roles. For example, the internship gave me broad legal exposure from contract disputes to nonprofit compliance. Now let's imagine you just finished an online course in contract drafting. Last year, you attended 2 immigration law conferences and shadowed a mentor during client consultations. You also started a legal writing blog to improve how you explain statutes to non lawyers. All of these steps, informal and formal, show your commitment to growth. What do we call this kind of intentional improvement in your legal knowledge and skills? That's professional development, a crucial sign that you're engaged, motivated, and constantly learning. For example, the best way to prioritize professional development is, of course, to learn legal English with us. Or you could take continuing legal education and real estate compliance. You're in an interview, and the hiring partner asks, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" You don't say, "Wherever you need me." No. Instead, you say, "I'd like to specialize in cross border real estate transactions. I'm already building that expertise through coursework and translation work, and I want to grow in a firm that handles international clients." That response doesn't just show ambition, it shows direction. And what do we call this focused, forward looking career plan? That's your long term practice goal. And firms love hearing it when it aligns with their own growth areas. For example, her long term practice goal is to develop a bilingual immigration practice that serves clients across Central America. In legal job interviews, it's common to describe your experience without focusing on when it happened. That's where the present perfect is most useful. We use it to say what we have done, not necessarily when, but to show relevance and readiness. Take this example. I've handled asylum cases. It doesn't matter when exactly. What matters is that you have that experience now. Or this one. She has worked in corporate compliance. That suggests a background in regulatory matters, experience that might transfer well into a new role. And we've advised clients on contract disputes. This implies recent or ongoing work that's directly connected to the job you are interviewing for. When you want to sound confident and highlight experience without pinning it to a past job title or year, the present perfect is your go to tense. Let's step into a legal interview simulation. The interviewer asks, can you describe your experience with client advocacy in legal drafting? You want to sound confident and competent without listing every date or job. That's where the present perfect shines. Here's how you might respond. I've assisted clients with temporary residency applications and explained complex immigration processes in plain English. Or, I've handled contract drafting and review for commercial leases in both English and Spanish. I've worked with notaries and title offices to ensure compliance in real estate transactions. I have prepared client facing summaries of legal strategies for litigation teams. Each sentence shows experience that's current, relevant, and professional, exactly what interviewers are listening for. So, next time you're asked about your background, remember, use the present perfect to connect your past work to your future role. In legal interviews, it's important to describe what you're doing at a certain moment, especially when highlighting your involvement in important or fast moving cases. That's where the past continuous helps. It shows what was in progress at a particular time. For example, I was working on a real estate closing. This suggests you are actively involved, not just assigned to the case, but deep in the process. Or, we were negotiating a settlement. This implies active communication, legal strategy, and decision making, all things you want interviewers to know you can handle. She was handling multiple client consultations. This shows she was busy, organized, and trusted to manage a high workload. The past continuous helps you show involvement, engagement, and action, not just outcomes. It's especially powerful when paired with specific events, like during my internship, I was reviewing contracts and drafting memos for the litigation team. While the hearing was taking place, I was preparing exhibits for cross examination. This is how you highlight what you are doing in real legal time. Let's simulate a key interview moment. The interviewer asks, tell me about a time when you were actively involved in a complex legal matter. Here is how you could respond, using the past continuous to show engagement and initiative. During my time at the firm, I was reviewing case files and gathering evidence for an asylum appeal under tight deadlines. We were advising a corporate client during a sudden regulatory inspection, and I was helping prepare documentation for compliance. I was preparing a due diligence summary while our team was finalizing the acquisition of a commercial property. While the senior attorney was in court, I was coordinating witness interviews and drafting follow up memos. This grammar shows you are doing the work, not just observing or supporting, but actively contributing during a key moment. Using the past continuous when you want to express action under pressure, ongoing involvement, and real time legal experience. Now, the best part of our class, legal phrases and idioms. Imagine this, you're in a deposition and the opposing counsel suddenly changes tactics, bringing up an unexpected piece of evidence. You have no time to pause or ask for a break. You adjust your questioning, reframe your objections, and protect your client's position. That's what it means to think on your feet, to respond swiftly, calmly, with professional control. This idiom is powerful in job interviews because legal work often demands agility, and if you can think on your feet, you can handle courtrooms, negotiations, and a client crisis with confidence. Up to speed. Picture this. You're hired into a cross-border mergers and acquisition team. On day one, you're asked to assist with due diligence involving international tax law, something you've only touched briefly. You dive into research, consult precedents, and meet with colleagues. Within a week, you're making valuable contributions. You've gotten up to speed and fast. In a legal job interview, this idiom shows you're proactive, self-motivated, and quick to adapt. All critical traits for high-performing teams. To go the extra mile. Let's say your client is a Spanish speaker unfamiliar with U.S. legal procedures. Instead of just emailing a generic case update, you translate the summary into Spanish, clarify the legal implications, and walk the client through it by phone. You've just gone the extra mile, not because you had to, but because that's the kind of service you offer. In job interviews, this idiom signals that you deliver value beyond expectations, a trait that will generally set you apart from other candidates. Raise the bar. A new associate joins your firm and takes on the task of improving client onboarding. She doesn't just tweak the welcome email. She redesigns the intake process, updates templates, and creates a short guide in plain English. Suddenly, the entire team starts following her model. She has raised the bar, not just for herself, but for everyone. In an interview, this idiom shows that you're not just meeting standards, you're redefining them. And that's the mindset firms want in their future leaders. Now picture yourself in an interview at a mid-sized immigration law firm. The partner leans forward and asks, "Can you give an example of a complex case you handled and how you managed it under pressure?" You respond professionally and with clarity. "Over the past few years, I've developed a broad case portfolio focused on asylum, family reunification, and special immigrant juvenile status. In one case, we had only 2 weeks to prepare a petition for a client in a sensitive domestic situation. At the time, I was assisting with 2 other filings, but I restructured my schedule and took the lead on this one. I had to get up to speed quickly on the client's background, gather supporting evidence, and coordinate with a counselor for the psychological affidavit. Midway through the process, new guidance from the USCIS changed how evidence was being evaluated. I had to think on my feet and revise our legal argument overnight. The petition was approved, and afterward, I walked the client through the next steps in Spanish to make sure she fully understood her rights. That's part of what I consider my client-facing skill set. I always try to go the extra mile, especially when clients are vulnerable or overwhelmed. Since then, I've created templates and workflows to help junior staff move more efficiently through similar cases. I believe we've raised the bar in how we support survivors of abuse, both legally and emotionally. And my long-term practice goal is to lead a trauma-informed immigration team that combines legal expertise with deep cultural sensitivity. By combining legal vocabulary, structured grammar, and confident idiomatic expression, you've shown not just what you know, but how you work and who you are as a legal professional. Let's wrap up what you learned today. First, you practice using precise vocabulary that helps you speak about your legal experience, like case portfolio, analytical strength, and client-facing skills. These terms give you credibility in a professional setting. Then we focused on using grammar strategically, the present perfect to describe your experience over time, and the past continuous to add context and nuance to your storytelling. We also introduced some idioms like think on your feet, get up to speed, go the extra mile, and raise the bar that add fluency and confidence when you speak about your performance under pressure. And finally, you practice turning your legal experience into a compelling story, the kind of story that helps interviewers understand not just what you've done, but how you think and work. If you want more lessons like this, plus live sessions and feedback, join our Legal English School community. The link is in the description, and I promise we will help you raise the bar in every interview you face.